How to find the GCF using the ladder method? Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can find the greatest common factor of two numbers. But first, let's just talk about greatest common factor. What does that mean exactly? Well, the greatest, what is the largest common number that they share? Factor, a number that would divide evenly into another number. So one way of finding the greatest common factor, so what's the greatest common factor of 24 and 40? Here are all the factors of 24. These are all numbers that will divide evenly into 24. And you find those by, I know a lot of students have been taught the rainbow method, where you do 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. Those are all the factors of 24. And the factors of 40, well, here they are, 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and so on. So let's look at factors that they have in common. Well, they all have 1 as a factor, 2 as a factor, 4 is a factor, 8 is a factor. So the GCF, the greatest, the largest common factor would be 8 for these two numbers. Now, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And there's a much easier way of doing this, and it's called the ladder method. So let's take a look at that. So let's do that same problem. How could I find the greatest common factor of 24 and 40? Well, I'm going to make a little upside down division symbol here. And what number would go into both 24 and 40? Well, how about 4? 4 goes into both of those numbers. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 4 goes into 40 10 times, and you're left with 6 and 10. Now, is there any number other than 1 that would go into 6 and 10? Well, they're both even numbers. So 2 would go into both of them. 2 is a factor of both of those numbers. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Now, is there any number that would go into 3 and 5 other than 1? And the answer is no. So you're done. So to find the GCF, what you do is you take these side numbers, 4 and 2, you multiply them, and that gives you your answer. 8 is the GCF, as we saw using this rather lengthy method here. Now I want to show you, let's do that again, because some kids would not start with 4. They might start with a different number that goes into 24 and 40. So 24 and 4, what about 2? What if they didn't see the 4 and they started with 2? Because 2 will go into 24 12 times. 2 will go into 40 20 times. Now, what would go into 12 and 20? Well, 2 again. 2 would go into 12 6 times. 2 would go into 20 10 times. Now, am I done? No, because there is 2 again would go into 6 3 times and go into 10 5 times. And now we're finished, because the only number that would go into 3 and 5 is 1. So we're finished. So you take these side numbers and you multiply them. So 2 times 2 times 2. And when you multiply 2 times 2 times 2, you still get 8. And that is your GCF. All right, let's do another one. What would be the GCF of 32 and 48? Okay, well, what goes into 32 and 48? How about 4? 4 goes into 32 8 times. 4 goes into 48 12 times. Now, is there anything that'll go into 8 and 12 other than 1? Well, 4. 4 will go into both of them. 4 is a factor of both of those numbers. So 4 will go into 8 twice. 4 will go into 12 3 times. And now we're left with 2 and 3. And nothing will go into 2 and 3 except 1. So we're finished. So what do? Well, we take our side numbers and we multiply them. So the GCF of 32 and 48 would be 16. And let's see, what do we have here? Oh, 6 and 19. What would be the GCF of 6 and 19? Well, what number would go into 6 and 19? Well, if you use your divisibility rules, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 5, 10, none of those work. Actually, the only number that will go into 6 and 19 is 1. Therefore, your GCF for those two numbers is 1. So that's how you use the ladder method in determining the greatest common factor.